Good day and welcome back. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different than our usual YouTube videos. Since I got this guy, I've actually been videoing everything we've done with him right from the very beginning, teaching him how to be caught and everything. Because when I got him, he was completely untrained. So we've actually been videoing everything that we've done with this guy. But that's not on YouTube. That's a separate library that will be on my website, which isn't there yet. Don't get excited. Uh, but recently, we ran into a few problems with this guy that we talked about a little bit on both my Facebook and on a couple of YouTube videos as well. And I had several people curious as to what the problems were and what we did about them to remedy them. So as a result, this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than some of my YouTube videos usually are, because I'm going to actually show you, well, not everything, because there's one I'm going to have to leave out, but I'm going to show you most of the problems and how we went about remedying them. And, well, you'll get to see it, because first couple of days, he got better each day when we worked with him. Last time I checked him out a couple of days ago, he was absolutely perfect. Doesn't mean he will be today, though. So you might actually get to see the problems again. They may still be there. Who knows? Never know. One day to the next. And just, because none of this has been rehearsed. I didn't do anything with him prior to turning on the camera. The only thing I did was cleaned his feet and give him a bit of a brushing, because in spite of the fact he probably still doesn't look like he's been brushed, I actually did a fair bit of brushing, because he was just plastered with mud, because it's been raining here for the last few days, and the horses tend to get muddy. The horses like being muddy. I don't know. Works for them. I don't care. Doesn't bother me any. I'm not one of those people that get real obsessed with the grooming and that sort of thing. In fact, I probably did more than I even needed to today, because a lot of times all I'm going to brush is I'll get rid of the mud where the saddle's going to sit, that sort of thing, because just for comfort's sake, that sort of thing. We don't want to turn his back into a mud puddle either if he starts sweating. So that's basically what we've done. Now, the problem that I can't show you, I'm going to explain a little bit about. We were having a lot of trouble with getting forward out of them and things like that. And it turned out that the round pen was actually the problem, because the sand in the round pen is much softer. It's much finer than the sand in the arena here. It's fairly soft. It's fairly deep in areas. And it's a lot of work to walk in that stuff, even for a human. And, well, he's one of those horses that he was rather fussy about it, too. He didn't really want to walk in it all that bad either. Now, I didn't think at that point, when we just finally figured out what the problem was, I didn't think he was quite ready for the arena. I thought he still needed to be in the round pen at that point. But the only way we could prove for sure, one way or the other, that the footing was actually the issue was to bring him into the arena here and see how he behaved in here. I didn't think he was actually ready for it, but we did a lap of the arena, and, well, pretty much a lot of the problems, not all, a lot of the problems that we were having due to the footing all went away in the arena here. So just by experimenting with the different surfaces, we discovered how to resolve that problem was simply, well, just not use a round pen, which actually doesn't work out that bad for me, because all the videos I've been doing with this guy have been geared towards not everybody has a round pen or even access to one. And so I wanted to do a series of videos on how to train a horse without a round pen. So the fact that even though I wanted to do the first ride in the round pen, didn't really work out all that well. We did make a couple of laps of the round pen. That was about it. And we actually got on him the first time in here. And then, well, it got cold quick. And for those of you who don't know, I'm up in Canada, and this particular area here, winter can easily get, minus 20, even minus 30. Way too cold to not have extra layers on, which makes it very difficult to even get on and off a horse. Too cold for riding, so we basically called it quit for the winter. And you stay right here with me. Keep me company. Okay? Good guy. Anyhow, so we did get on him in the fall, didn't ride him. Actually did our first ride this spring when the weather got a little nicer. We tried using the round pen, which, as I said, didn't work out too well. So we did it in here. And we've been on them a couple of times in here. Not very much, though. But we discovered we had a few problems that have been popping up since we started getting on them this spring. And then recently another one. And I'm going to show you all those ones, all the others, other than the problem that the round pen caused. Now, as I said, round pen, not a huge problem because my training videos were focused on how to train a horse without a round pen anyhow. So not using one isn't going to be a huge problem. And with this particular horse, although a round pen is safer for a first ride, with this particular horse, he's a pretty cool guy. He doesn't get too excited, so riding him in here isn't a big problem. But I'm going to go through the motions today. I'm going to do everything that we normally do. As you can see, no saddle on him. That was where our first problem started is, well, when we went to put the saddle on him, he'd turn and walk away. So let's see if he'll take a saddle today. Come on, buddy. Excuse me, sir. Pay attention. Here. He's in general place, but not in position I would like. I'd like him straighter than that. So we're just going to ask him to move over. He knows how to do this. We've done this lots with him. There we go. And I said, I hadn't really done much with him prior to this. All we've done is, well, we brushed him, cleaned his feet. We did do a tiny bit of groundwork with him, just enough to get him paying attention to me, which he's still not 100% focused on me, but that's okay. He's got an itchy spot down there. He's just determined to scratch today. Just pay attention. Yeah, I'll scratch that for you later. Okay, now let's see what happens when we pick up the saddle today. Looks like our problem has solved. All righty. Now, what was happening, and I'll explain it real quick. I kind of explained it in my previous video, not the last one, the one before that. If he turned to walk away, all we do is quickly grab our lunge whip. We wouldn't finish trying to put the saddle on. We just set it back down on the stand, take a lunge whip, and make him canter a couple of laps of the arena in both directions. And the first time, I think we did it 3 or 4 times, and finally decided standing still was a lot better. Next time we did it, I think we only had to do it once the next day. And he goes, oh, yeah, I remember how this works. Never mind, I'll just stand still. So that was actually a relatively easy problem to solve, a fairly common one with a lot of horses. So it wasn't too hard. I've done this lots before with other horses. It's a very simple way of dealing with things, and you can use that exact same principle for dealing with a lot of problems where the horse won't stand still when you want it to. Excuse me for a minute. I'm going to do up the saddle now. Okay, so we got the saddle done up. And, well, I'll show you what some of the other problems were. We'll see whether or not he does them today. I don't know if he will. For riding, both for starting and, well, even if the horse knows what it's doing. I ride in the halter. Less work, you got to have one anyhow. And saves a lot of money, too, because I'm kind of a cheap guy. So I don't have to buy bridles, bits, reins. I actually do have them all, but most of them are pretty old. I haven't used them in a long time. And this stuff's all here. So as you can see, the horse has gone from being haltered to being bridled. It's ready to ride now. And the length of time it just took me to put that on like that. My lead is now my reins. And I discovered actually, I used to use, I had another halter that was rather effective. It had rings on the side. It worked real good. I used clip-on reins. And then I started using my lead, and it's so nice and big and fat. It's actually quite comfortable to hang on to, so I've discovered it actually works pretty good. Anyhow, so I'll just turn them around a little because I'll show you what was happening here. There we go. Good man. is what would happen is we had a couple of problems. Just move this stand back out of the way a little bit. We actually had a couple of problems with him. And one of the things I like doing is I like teaching a horse to flex. And that's where you pick up the reins and he doesn't scratch himself. You pick up the reins and he turns his head around with very little pressure. Actually, today he's actually been a little heavy. Usually it doesn't even take this much. And but he's still being pretty good. At least he's not moving. But this is one of the things that I like to teach a horse, is to flex without moving, because one of the things that will happen when you do this is, especially when you first start teaching it, is though as soon as the horse brings its head around, it'll start turning in circles. And he got really good with flexing, where he just pick up the rein, he'd bring his head around and wouldn't move. But just recently, oh, he's going to do it now. There we go. See, this is the problem. One of the problems we were having. Although he didn't do bad there, he only took a half a turn that time. Very good. But that was one of the problems. Is every time we'd pick the rein up, bend his head around, he'd start turning. Let's see. Oh, there we go. That's better. You want to do this from both sides, too. And I can actually mount him. I've actually mounted him from both sides, too. That's something you also want to do. You don't want a horse to be one-sided. You want to be able to do things from both sides, because you just never know when you're going to have to do things. But in order to solve that problem, we basically just did exactly the same thing we did when we were teaching him how to flex in the first place. Is if he wanted to move while he was flexed, then we'd just hold it until he stopped moving. And that's exactly what we did. And see how quickly he caught on today? Good man. And he's not in a hurry to pull his head back either, you can see. But all we did, same thing we did when we first taught him to flex, is if he wanted to move, we'd just hold the rein up there, rest our hand on the side of on his shoulder or on the corner of the saddle if he was saddled, because we also did that when he wasn't saddled as well. And just go with him, keep going around until he'd stop moving. As soon as he stopped moving, I'd release and let him have his head back. And so we had to repeat that process again. Exactly the same thing we did the first time. And it didn't take very long, and he figured out that all he had to do was just bring his head around. A little more, sir. No, don't move. He really wants, he's got an itchy spot on this side he really wants to get at right now. But he didn't go anywhere. That's good. That's good. Okay, that was one of our problems. Well, actually, that was our, that would be number two. We actually had about four altogether. The first, we had the footing was an issue, caused multiple problems. Couldn't get him move and stuff, all sorts of things. Didn't get nice circles. Then we had a problem with the saddling. As you can see, that problem was solved quite nicely. Works good. Stands real nice for the saddle now. And then we had the problem with the flexing. He would move every time we'd try flexing. Now, I should explain why we were flexing in the first place. Is one of the reasons that we like to flex is actually a couple of reasons. It's really important. It's a safety issue. Not so much with him, because he doesn't take off on me or get silly when you get on him. He's pretty mellow. But for most horses, it can definitely be a safety issue, because when the horse has got its head bent around like that, it's not going to buck. Give me your head there. Yeah, that's nice. Good, Mia. There we go. When their head's around like that, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to buck, rear, bolt, nothing silly like that. So it's a safety issue if you can keep the head bent while you're getting on. You don't want them taking the head back. You don't want them moving. Although, if they do move, the only thing they're going to do is very tiny little circles. So it's really not a huge deal if they do move, but you don't want them moving. And so that's one of the reasons. It's a huge safety issue, particularly with a very green horse, first ride type thing. After it's got a few miles on it, not such a big deal. But it can prevent your horse from doing a lot of silly stuff if you keep the head bent like that. The other reason for doing that is it really works. It has a lot to do with your steering, your brakes, backing up, all kinds of stuff. Anything that involves using the reins, because it makes the horse sensitive to the reins. And he's actually not being particularly sensitive to the reins today. There we go. That's better. But I'm still not pulling real hard. And that's what you want. You don't want it. You should never have to pull hard. Here you go. Good man. And he's not yanking his head back. Okay, that was a bit of an issue, and that's, like I said, that's why you want that stuff working good. It's really important because it can make a huge difference in your steering, brakes, backing up, and everything. All of which he does now, by the way, already, even though we've only done a couple laps of the arena with him. It's amazing how some things he catches on to real quick. The other problem that we were having, which is connected very closely to this, is we'd get him bent around like this, and then as soon as we'd go to get on, and I'll see if he does it today. Oh, he's not going to do it. Good boy. Good man. Well, apparently that's another problem we got fixed too, which is really good, because as soon as we tried getting on, he'd throw his head up in the air. He'd pull his head away from me, straighten it out, and then throw it up in the air. And so how do we fix that one? Well, pretty much the same way we do anything, is just until the horse does the right thing, you keep pressure on. So if he pulled his head away, I wouldn't continue getting up, because that would be a silly thing to do, because that could end up in a wreck, at least on other horses. With him, it wouldn't, but I'd just keep pressure on until his head came back down and turned around just like this, and then I'd let go. Tell him he's a good boy. That's all I had to do. Had to do it a few times, though. It wasn't fixed in just one or two times. I don't know how many times we had to do it, but we just kept at it, and next thing you know, he was doing exactly what we wanted. He was staying flexed, not throwing his head up, pulling his head away. He was doing pretty much everything we wanted to. Real nice. And to the point where if he was any better, a beginner could have ridden him for his first ride. Now, I'll show you the last little step that we did. Those were the only problems we were actually having, is wasn't bending without standing still. He wasn't bending nicely. He was pulling his head away and throwing it up. Wouldn't take the saddle. Those are the major problems that we addressed. And as you can see, they're all basically fixed now. And it really didn't take a lot of time. It did take quite a few repetitions, but I'll bet you in total I probably didn't spend more than 15 minutes to a half. And I think total, I think it was 15 minutes each day that I did it, because I don't like overdoing things, because then they just get frustrated. So I like to take it easy. You know, I think good training can be done in fairly short little segments. So that was the main part. I'm going to show you a little bit more in a second here. Yeah, because we didn't want to be repeatedly pulling ourselves up on them to work on those problems, we decided to actually start using the mounting block. Normally in a round pen, I would not use a mounting block. I don't want something in the way for my first ride that the horse can trip on and cause all kinds of problems for him or me. So, but lately we decided it was just a whole lot easier if I was standing on the mounting block to do all that stuff. I could lean on the saddle and get the exact same results out of me, still do throw the head up and all that stuff. And but I didn't have to keep pulling myself up, and it was just a whole lot easier than trying to pull myself up and that sort of thing. And eventually we want to start using the mounting block for him anyhow, because I think the mounting block is, well, you know, he's not a particularly large horse, so I can get on him from the ground pretty easy and that sort of thing. But a mounting block is easier on the horse. So given the option, we'll use a mounting block. Hey. Ooh. Good man. And, well, this was one of the other things I had taught him previously when I was doing my groundwork. And, you know, some people don't think groundwork's worth doing. And although there's a lot of things I didn't do with them, there's a lot of things I did do. This being one of them, as I taught him to step up to the mounting block. And as you can see, I don't have a lunge whip with me or anything like that. The lead is actually the reins, so they're right here. So basically, I have no control over him other than he's going to set up the mounting block for me. And one of the other things that I do a lot is I use my little tool here. It's one of my handy tools. It's multi-purpose. And it gets used for a lot of things. And what it is, a dressage whip, and there's a lot of things you could use. This is actually what's left of a lunge whip. I found laying on the ground. The string was gone off it, but the shaft and handle were still there. I just shortened it down a little bit, and it's very handy. And if he's not close enough to the mounting block for me, one of the things that we've taught him is to side pass towards me. Hey, you gonna side pass towards me? Good boy. There you go. So now he's nice and close to me. That's one of those silly things I teach horses that are not part of normal training that most people would do for a saddle horse. But I find it's really handy for one more addition to maneuverability of the horse. Well, let's see if we can actually get on him without him. He's not. Oh, there we go. Oh, give me your head. There we go. Good man. A little more. There we go. Now, there you go. This is a horse that we were having problems with. Not having problems anymore. He's only been, like I said, a couple laps of the arena, a couple laps of the round pen. There you go, folks. That's it in a nutshell. Good little man. Problem solved. Couldn't ask for a much better little horse now. Have a good day.